today. So thank you also for your time. We'll have some new business, old business, any questions, any comments, and then, we'll let you go on into your merry, busy, happy day and, enjoy today. So without further ado, again, welcome everybody, and let's go ahead and have Wendy Cummings give us her presentation. So thank you.
Good morning. I am excited to be back with you guys and hopefully now can get back every month, but I'm really excited to be back with you guys to update you on what Low Country Alliance for Healthy Youth has been doing, especially during the COVID time. As you know, Low Country Alliance for Healthy Youth is a nonprofit that's main focus and drive is to promote positive, healthy choices among our youth and to educate the community in how they can support that effort as well. We have faced some challenges during COVID, but we've also tried to utilize those times. We have had a very big public health awareness campaign. We've had some television spots and some interviews with WHHI. Also have lots of ads going out on local radio stations, spots promoting, talking to youth, being aware that during this time, there is increased activity, if you will, by students, lots of stress. Our Teens for Healthy Youth have been very active in polling. They have still been meeting virtually as we have as a coalition. And we are finding that students and youth are far more stressed right now. Lots of stressors with school being online, parents working from home, lots of different situations for everyone. Some very unexpected stressors that students report that they would have not felt would have been a stressor. But as you can imagine, being at home all of the time with family members, sometimes not the best situations for some families. So a lot more stress. So we have tried to focus on how to help students find healthy ways to deal with that stress, even during COVID. That is one of our campaigns that we do normally, but we've had to kind of switch it up with COVID and find ways, have the teens brainstorm and then do peer-to-peer education on how they can help their peers with this increased stress level. That was also one of our campaigns on our radio spots, talking about kids being at home and having more increased access to drugs and alcohol in the home and how to help with that. So those two things combined, we did do, I don't know if you've seen it, but we have a lot of spots that run during the Today Show on network TV. So that's been very promising. We've gotten a lot of good feedback from that. Some of the other things that we've done during COVID is increased our resources. We've tried to build some resources in for COVID onto our website and trying to promote our website for those resources in any way that we can, directing the community and directing folks to our website for those resources. So adding a lot of COVID related information as well as the stress information that our youth has given back to us. Hannah had asked me, how can you guys help? How can your committee help? We have several. One is just promoting Low Country Alliance for Healthy Youth, putting it out as a resource, sending them to our website. We are still meeting monthly, and we welcome anyone who would like to attend. We are still looking for ways to get out to our civic organizations and our youth-sponsored organizations to partner with them, let them know who we are and how we can help them and how they can help us. That is a little bit more of a challenge with the virtual, but in my last meeting, I proposed that it might even be easier. We might be able to, pop in as I am today, pop into some of the virtual meetings that these organizations are doing. So anyone who has connections with some of those organizations, if they're looking for someone to speak or to give information, or would just allow us to come in virtually and give a little bit information about who we are, we would love that opportunity. Sending them to our website and offering up our resources is also another way. one of our biggest issues that we're having right now is we are having to pivot around our 12-month action plan. A lot of things that we have planned, of course, are in-person activities that we cannot do right now. So we are pivoting on that, and we are, with our grant, we are not a 501c3, and we very much are interested in trying to become a 501c3. Unfortunately, our government-funded grants cannot be used to support that effort. And we need to fundraise. We need assistance in fund development, and really need someone who has that expertise that might be willing to give up their time, that would count as in-kind support. So if anyone has any connections with someone who might be willing to support us in fund development and help us brainstorm on how we can fundraise, especially during this COVID. But we do need to provide sustainability and a plan for sustainability. So that is right now probably one of our biggest challenges.
That's great, Wendy. We really appreciate everything you're doing. And I feel that, we probably need to advertise more what you do among different organizations. Like immediately, I think I belong to the Zonta Club of Hilton Head. So I would love to at some point have you come to our club and talk about it, because, we're all affected by it. And it's great. More people need to know what you're doing. A question I have for you,
Sure.
because I have two kids. They're both in public school, middle school, and elementary. They go to the rec center. How involved is your organization in providing advice and feedback as far as food and snacks that are provided at school and at the rec center, for example? Are you guys have been contacted by? Are you able to share information with them about that?
Can you rephrase your question? I'm not sure I'm understanding. We do have a board member that is also a representative on the Island Rec Center board, but I'm not sure I understand your question.
If your organization gives feedback or resources to the rec center as to what are good ways to provide healthy snacks or healthy ways of exercising, and feedback for children in general as far as healthy youth. Yes, and you're exactly right. We do have a board member, excuse me, that also sits on the Island Rec Center board. So we are trying to partner with them. We have actually partnered with them to do some training for their employees, especially their volunteers at the different social events that have been out. Not sure we've had as much involvement in providing nutritional information, but we have provided information as far as, drug take back days, alcohol awareness for youth, as well as just some help promoting healthy choices. We do have some information on our website about nutrition and about kids and teens. So that is something that we could help with. But you're exactly right. We really need, I think, guidance and just business partners that can help us get into the different organizations to let them know who we are, what we can help provide, and how we can partner with them. Right.
Hi, this is Trish. I have a question. Have you spoken to the Community Foundation?
They are actually our fiscal agent.
Are they holding?
They help us manage our grant.
Okay.
They cannot really help us get our 501c3 because of the grant, but they support us right now. We are under their umbrella, so they are.
Yeah, I was wondering how you were getting funds if you weren't a 501. So as long as you're under their umbrella, then you're good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Wendy, I have a question and also a comment. I would love to connect you with one of our SCORE mentors that specializes in 501c3s and setting that up. They were just working with a guy a couple days ago who is new to the area and setting up a business entity, albeit not a 501c3, but did he need to set up an LLC or a sole proprietorship? Anyway, just they have the expertise on that. So I'll get with you as an aside and see about that being a resource for you. But I had a question about young people, if you've seen during COVID any new emergence in substance abuse. I know that you guys were, watching vaping, you were watching, there's always the cigarettes and alcohol, and has there been any new entry to this area, or have you seen an increased use in substance abuse of certain things among young people, and especially dealing with the stress and thinking they need that more?
Right. We are hearing from our students that they are hearing from their peers. We've not done a formal survey. We've been unable to do that. We were able to get a survey in before schools closed last spring, but we are hearing through our peers that are doing the peer-to-peer education that they are perhaps experimenting a little bit more. Those that have not in the past are more so with this, mostly due to the stress, but some just due to the fact that they have more time on their hands. They're home alone because their parents are working. So we are hearing that from the students. It's anecdotal. We don't have any hard facts, but nationally, I think the trend is that is occurring, both with our youth and with adults. More increase in mental health issues submerging as well. So that is why we have ramped up the public awareness campaign to try to get the word out and give the kids alternatives, give them resources and tools to help them, should that be the case for them.
Excellent. Any other questions for Wendy? No?
Well, thank you guys so much for the opportunity. Thank you for, I'm encouraged both by Hannah's and others that may be able to come forward to help us connect with Zonta and any other organizations. I will say we do now have Teens for Healthy Youth in all of our high schools, our public high schools, May River, Hilton Head High, Christian Academy, Prep, and across schools now. I have brought it to cross schools. So we are across the board in all of the schools, and our youth are doing a phenomenal job in all of their work to support their peers and educate both their peers and the community. So thank you for the opportunity to bring this to you guys, and I hopefully will see you next month. And please feel free to reach out to me anytime. And Hannah, I look forward to hearing from you as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Wendy. We really appreciate your time. Good luck today. And,
thank you. I do have something I have to get an issue here at school, so I hate to pop off, but thank you again.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, that's great information. So if you belong to any organization, feel free to share. And Hannah, will you be able to share with us her email address so that she can be contacted?
Absolutely. I'll put it in the chat box for you guys, but I'm also recording. So we're going to put some sound bites out on this a little bit later today and see if it can get additional traction in the community.
Awesome.
I'll put it in the email right now.
That's great.
And let me also mention Susanna, she is the school nurse or the medical advisor, whatever the title is at Cross Schools. And so that's why it was iffy whether or not she could be on the call. Had there been a child that needed her for health reasons, she would have had to have joined later. But when you see her email, it'll say Cross Schools, and that's wise, because she's a nurse on the side in addition to her work with this organization.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, then let's go ahead and welcome our next speaker, Todd Warnschauer from May River. Sorry if I mispronounced the last name. But Todd, thank you for being here this morning, representing May River High School. So the floor is yours.
I appreciate you guys having me, and a lot of familiar faces in this meeting, and I have not been a familiar face for some time. We have a direct conflict with our school with Tuesday, our full faculty, all staff meeting day. And honestly, 2 weeks ago, we shifted back to Wednesday. So it may provide an opportunity for me to become more a familiar face with you guys. So I look forward to that, and I appreciate having me. Dr. Moss, I was just thinking, I'm sorry, I called you Dr. Moss. That is stuck in my head, my former boss, Bill. It's been a long time, my friend. I'm happy that you look well, and it's been way too long.
Thank you, Todd. Good to see you. Absolutely.
I'll pick up a little bit where Wendy was, and I'll kind of work from kids to the adults in terms of the schools. And starting with our kids, you know, Wendy said the rates of depression and those kinds of things are increased during this time. And I think there is a direct correlation to the time we have the students in our schools and that rate. And not to turn this into a political discussion, but very cognizant of that. Our students, I'm very proud to report this, as we brought them back to a hybrid situation, they've been extremely respectful of the need to do the social distancing, the masking. And if you've tried to do it for 7 hours in one day, it's very difficult. It's hard to avoid having a headache for the rest of your day if you pull that off. And our kids have done a great job of that. We're proud of that. The obvious goal for the school district is to work back to 5 days of instruction per week. The challenge of that, there are about 4 schools in the district that if we go back to the 5-day week, we'll be far from social distancing. May River will have approximately 1,100 students that would be in the building 5 days a week when we get back to that point. So I said I'd kind of work backward. Usually by this time of the year, we've gotten away from the nuts and bolts of processes, and we've started to get deeper into instructional theory, relational type things, and professional development revolves around those things, but we are kind of stuck in the nuts and bolts. I think everybody thinks I have insider information, knowing when we're going to make that 5-day-a-week move. And even if Hannah were not recording this, I would tell you I don't have that insider information. In fact, our superintendent has to keep that close to the vest, because if the word gets out before he's able to speak with our school board, then it gets to our school board via the way of the rumor mill, and that directly leads to resentment. So our approach is we're just planning as if it is going to happen in 1 week. And so literally as a school, we are saying, if we had 1 week to prepare, what would you do to get ready for the kids to come back 5 days a week? So continuing to work backward, part of the issue for schools, the world is watching our schools. Part of the issue for our schools is 70% of the state of South Carolina, I'm sorry, I just said 70, it's the opposite. Thank goodness it's not 70, but 30% of our teaching force are above the age of 50. In Beaufort, I believe, it's been a while since I heard the statistic, but I believe it's right at 14% of the employees of Beaufort County have the ability to retire within 1 year if they so chose. So before COVID, we had the problem of an aging teaching force. And now that we're in COVID, the bulk of our teachers represent the age groups that are most concerned with COVID. So there's a difficult balance there between wanting to get our kids back to 5 days a week, but also doing it in a way that is safe for all. And so that's the challenge at this stage of the game. And it unfortunately, and much due to the climate right now, it's a political challenge as well. So really, in terms of the schools, that's where we are. We're in hurry up and wait mode for the 5 day a week, and we're continuing to be in nuts and bolts for planning. I will tell you all that within 1 week of the schools starting up, I had 2 resignations from people that said, I can retire and I'm doing it now. What people don't know is this. not only those vacancies that we have that we can't fill because there just aren't people waiting to get the jobs in education right now. Not only do we have those vacancies, our substitutes for teachers, when teachers are out, we're all retired professionals. I won't say all, but the bulk, we're retired professionals. And we have no subs now. They have all pulled their names from that pool. So we have this kind of perfect storm of issues, a lack of qualified substitutes, a greater need for substitutes, a workforce that is in the age of concern, and many of those with the capability to retire within a year, and all of that is kind of converging. And I think the latter of that is the part that the public is not always aware of. So with that, didn't mean to dampen the mood today, but that is our reality right now.
Todd, how will you handle testing this year, knowing that the young people, I guess standards are set based on traditional learning curriculum, what, kind of what is ramped up to be, but, say a young person going from, the 9th to 10th grade, under, well, I guess 10th to 11th grade under your supervision, taking 11th grade tests may still kind of be in the 10th grade level if they're still in nuts and bolts type of curriculum.
Yeah, there are a few things happening there. One of them is, standardized testing. It's funny, we all acknowledged we needed fewer standardized tests and more time for instruction. And in the COVID era, we added 3 major tests for high schools. MAT testing, which was never required in high school, is now required. And so just when we talk about nuts and bolts, having the ability to test 400 of your students right now is very difficult because the testing is face-to-face testing, and attempting to have the ability to do that in schools. Right now, while we're on this hybrid model, we're out of school on Wednesdays. So physically, classes are virtual. It gives us an opportunity to bring folks in on Wednesdays to do standardized testing. So that works great right now. But when we go back to 5 days a week, it is going to be continuing to be a nuts and bolts issue. And I know, Hannah, you were asking more for not the nuts and bolts, but for the need for us to matriculate those kids educationally. The state does continue to require those end of course tests. They did just waive the requirement for those to count as 20% of the final grade. I think they are in advance acknowledging that some of those tests are going to drop. I mean, we have to be realistic. We're going to see a drop in those test scores, and the state is acknowledging that. Within Beaufort County, we have said we don't want to drop the weighting, because as soon as you drop the weighting, the message to kids is that this is not important, and we want teachers and kids to be accountable for pushing forward. So the first bit of that answer is that we will continue here in Beaufort to have weighting to those tests. The other piece, I don't know, Hannah. May River High School, and it's early, we haven't checked failure rates 7 weeks into a 9 weeks in the past. So the statistic I'm about to give you, I don't have a bearing for other years, but we do have a 13% failure rate in courses across the board at May River High School. If this were the end of the year, that would be more like 6% typically. And so to say I'm not concerned with that would not be accurate, especially as you talk about prepping for those tests.
Yeah, just think about, there's so many education metrics that are used in the economic development sector, where the system is judged on the student performance, just plain and simple, as opposed to teacher education attainment, or unfortunately it is on student performance. And I'm just worried about how the little red arrows that'll point down may show that there's some type of well, again, if young people are being tested and assessed on things they haven't learned yet, just because they didn't get there because COVID slowed them down. So definitely a concern for the business community. Andy had a question about technology and about access to broadband, how your students are doing and faring with that, with getting what they need with a signal and Wi-Fi in their homes.
Yeah, that's excellent question. I think as we started the year, that question would extend to access to devices, because try as we might, we started the year with about that same 13%. 13% of our students had not picked up their devices as of the first day of school. So, you know, you can't access the broadband if you don't access a device. So we were attacking those issues simultaneously. And Hargray, several of the local internet providers worked to provide free internet access to those that could document the need. I want to say there were federal incentives for that too, but so what we did as a school and through our social worker and all of our bilingual liaison and all of our folks that just really do that outreach is that we basically attempted to get in touch with each person to find out what their status was. And if they didn't have internet, those were accessible. If they had inadequate geographical access to internet, that's a totally different issue that exists in our county in some areas that would shock you. Areas you would think that they would have excellent access, or maybe you live that at your own home, but there are areas in our county that are just horrible for access. And so they also, I want to say there were somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 of these MiFi devices. 1,500 of those approximately came from federal funds, and another 1,500 came from donations from business in the community. And so we had an application process. Basically, if you were, you could either have a need financially or geographically. And if you could document that need, we would provide those MiFi. So I think if you ask that question of me for access today, it's really good. If you ask that in the first 3 weeks of the school year, it was really bad. And, you know, we've overcome it. But the problem at the high school level is 3 and 4 weeks into the year, the teachers have covered so much material that trying to recover that is very difficult for those folks.
I have a quick question, Todd, as far as expectations of the students, you know, with everything that has happened and, you know, with the lag that happened when everything shut down in March and the school year last year did not properly ended. And, you know, what are the current realistic expectations of the teachers as far as what the kids should know, should be able to do? And, you know, are we going to pass kids to the next year just because we have to? Or, you know, are we still having certain expectations? Because it's a really hard position to take. I was talking to a teacher, she teaches third grade kids, and she was telling me that she has kids that are reading at first grade level and some at second grade level. So, but they were still going to pass them all. So how is that going to help, you know, the kids to go from one grade to the next one?
Yeah, I think, and there's one thing that teachers are up against. Last spring, the grade scale changed in such a way that it was basically pass fail. If you did any work, you were going to pass last year. And the students figured that out. and so they made it through the year. Well, this fall, that's not the case. This fall, we had to send the message, guys, we are still virtual, but it is a different virtual. You now have to produce in order to pass. And so shifting, you know, if you can imagine, the culture quickly went to a lack of accountability last spring for kids. All they had to do was basically demonstrate an effort, and they passed. To this fall, hey, wait a minute, I'm still showing an effort. Why am I not passing? And we had to get kids to understand this is not the same. You combine that with, and there's just no way to get around it. When we were in a hybrid model, they have 2 days of face-to-face instruction, 1 day of virtual instruction, and then 2 days of assignments that the teachers are giving. And you can't replace the teacher in the classroom. So there is no doubt that the kids are not getting the level of instruction. So what are teachers doing? The teachers have begun to focus. There was an old term, and it's no longer an educational term, but it applies today. They used to talk about essential standards. And so in looking at the standards of a course, what are the things that I absolutely better teach these kids how to do? Because if they don't, I've set them up for failure. So, it starts by identifying those. And then just like you said, the kids are at great variance in their ability. So it starts with the essential standards, and then comes into play the need to differentiate it. You have some kids that are very capable and some that are not, and trying to manage all of that. Wish I had the magic answer.
No, stop.
Todd, a few more questions came in, but I knew that we had you till 9 o'clock, so I know you have to hop, but I'll send those emails to you and you can answer off to a side. But thank you so much. And we saved the best for first in this case in meeting the principals. We so appreciate your partnership and all you're doing at May River. You're a rock star.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be back for your Tuesday meetings. I think our meetings shifted to Wednesday, and even when we come back 5 days a week, I think we're probably going to try to stay on Wednesday just because of the routine of that. So hopefully we'll see a lot more of each other. I appreciate you having me, Hannah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here this morning. And Ms. Hannah.
Yeah, so a couple of new business notes. I see Nicole is on the line. It is Apprenticeship Month in South Carolina. Woohoo! And we had a lot of talk, and this committee has been on the forefront of organizing and bringing apprenticeships to the forefront of a conversation, much needed conversation. And while COVID dropped somewhat of the bottom out of our effort, nevertheless, it is revived. And with Nicole in that position, she's awesome and has already started reaching out to some employers here. She's our speaker in December. So and we're going to promote that for a much larger audience. But I did want to recognize that Nicole was on the line. And Nicole, I don't want to lose any time or more momentum and save anything you have for us between now and you speak to us in November, if there's something we can be doing for you.
Yeah, thank you, Hannah. Nothing off the top of my head, just promoting apprenticeship in the community. That's our goal, to be, very vocal about it. I'm going to be speaking to the Beaufort Chamber on the 18th at their Lunch and Learn. And I'm, again, just trying to be, not me personally, but Apprenticeship Carolina is being very active on social media, promoting different spotlights. I think my spotlight is on November 6th. And we're going to be spotlighting something about the healthcare industry, probably with Right at Home. But yeah, nothing specific that I can think of at the moment, other than just making sure we're talking about apprenticeship. And if you have any companies that are interested, please, send them my way to let me talk to them, because I am eager to work with them and get in front of new people.
Gotcha. Well, like I said, we'll talk in December about how COVID has had to readjust your work with not only businesses, but getting signed up and getting their plan structured, but also your dealings with teachers and students and all of that. Yes. So, but in the meantime, please let us know if there's anything that we can do for you to further the effort. I also want to mention that as far as the any legislative momentum, as you know, the legislature is adjourned at the moment, and everything that had been any progress that they had made for education reform basically has gone back to square one, and there's a blank page. I'll be watching for pre-filed bills here in the next couple of weeks on education, and especially as it relates to COVID and some of the issues that we were talking to Todd about, where it comes to testing or assessments or pass fail. All of these are things that would come down some federal, but of course the state has a big say as well. in those types of issues. So watch for that to come. And then looking ahead as well, those of you who would like to participate, our Public Policy Committee meeting, which is another committee of the chamber, meets the first Friday of every month. And we always like to cross-pollinate for those issues that you may be interested in, and that's coming this Friday. And we will begin work on the 2021 legislative agenda. So input about education, whether pre-K all the way to career. If you have efforts or interest in that being a part of our legislative agenda or tweaking that, please let me know. You'd certainly be a part of that. And then finally, just want to mention, looking ahead to the first of the year, our January meeting falls on that Tuesday as everybody's coming back from work. I'll work with you, Susanna, to see if that's something that we need to forego or whether we just reschedule it. I suspect that it could be something that would be rescheduled based on everybody's busy schedule and kind of getting back to work from the holidays, but I'll let you know about that. But as it stands right now, our next meeting is in December, the first Tuesday. Oh, let me unmute you.
There we go.
There we go.
All right. Thanks, Hannah. Appreciate it. Does anybody have any old business or any other comments to make today before we end the meeting? No, just tomorrow, if you haven't, Dr. Rodriguez is going to be speaking in the weekly Chamber of Commerce Teletown Hall. It's at 9:15. It'll be great if you join in to listen. It'll be interesting to see what he has to say. That's tomorrow, Wednesday at 9:15. So sign up if you're interested. And again, thank you, Andy,